Assalamu alaikum rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Hope you're doing well. So, a lot of right-wingers who claim to have traditional values are sharing this video clip of a fashion week where there is non-traditional models being put on the runway. So there's out-of-shape women in wheelchairs, blue-haired people. It's not very visually pleasing when you contrast it with the traditional London, New York, Paris runways, or Milan runways of Italy. And people are calling this a sign of decay. Now, what I find to be kind of funny is, at a certain point, regular beauty isn't enough to get the attention. And runways are a hobby of the decadent elite. They get to sit around while the labor class does more productive things and stare at people wearing clothes that they won't buy. It's a form of entertainment for them. People who are working 9 to 5s, moms who got meals to cook, people who have better things to do, don't really sit around and watch models parade around in clothing that they can't afford, right? And so, what I find to be quite odd is that people who claim to have traditional values really do show that they have an addiction to pornography when they're upset that a woman won't parade around half nude or in really strange clothing so that they can get their kickoff, right? If you have traditional values, you should say ban all fashion shows. Or say, good, I'm glad they're just not having attractive women because men shouldn't be sitting around watching these types of women, and other women shouldn't want to be the woman on the runway because it's a very temporary career to be a fashion show model. It's one that goes out the wayside pretty quickly. Well, traditionally it used to go out the way, but now that we see they're letting the deformed, the out of shape, the misfits essentially parade and show their clothing brands, you can see that the market that they're trying to get at is going to differ now. So, if you're a capitalist and you talk about the free market and you're mad now that the clothing industry wants to make fashion shows with models that aren't the typical standard of beauty, why? Right? From an economic perspective, if they want to branch off into that market, you as a free market capitalist shouldn't mind. They're just changing to what they feel will get them the most money and attention. And ironically, conservatives who keep sharing that are actually helping them to get free promotion. So it worked. Now you can look at that and say, oh, this is so terrible. There should be more hot women there. How is that conservative? How is that religious? That you're mad that there's not hot women for you to stare at while you're married? I know that there's some conservative people who think that beautiful women show the peak of your civilization, but that's just female worship. You're idolizing women. If you want women to parade themselves on a runway for you and be hot icons, you've turned them into an object, into an idol that you must stare at in order to get satisfaction. In Islam, we're taught to lower our gaze, so we of all people wouldn't find ourselves attending a fashion show that's all about indulging the eyes of sin, lust, and temptation, and fashion, which breeds vanity and is not a good route to escape materialism. Rather, it embeds you more in it. So if you really are some of these conservatives who are like, I'm a free market capitalist Christian, why are you upset then that the free market is creating another niche to earn more money by using non-hot models? And why are you, as a religious person who should be more modest and focus on better things, even watching fashion shows? And when was the last time you even watched one? Right? I've seen a couple back in the day that I used to watch on YouTube. But then I was like, this is a waste of time. I could be doing something more fun. I mean, we all like video games, or we all watch some meme videos. We have our entertainment. But fashion shows in particular are a hobby of the rich. And I don't find that to be appealing. And the garment industry uses slave labor, like basically slave labor, wage slaves. Those factories are quite brutal. So many in the garment industry in India, China, the Philippines, Indonesia, they really suffer. Honduras, they don't live good lives, and they're making clothes that are overpriced, and they don't really see the profit of that. It's the business owners who see it, right? And the celebrity culture around materialism breeds into the pimp culture and brand worship. So the whole fashion industry to me is something irrelevant. I try to buy my clothes from regular people, from the average Joe, as much as I can. So if you're a conservative who's complaining, I find that to just be very odd. You help them get more promotion. You're going against modesty. You are complaining about how the rich spend their time. You don't watch fashion shows yourself, really. And even if you did, you'd understand that the fashion show eventually is going to get weirder and weirder. Pretty soon they'll probably just put dogs in a dress. Whatever they can do to get shock value. Right? And the truth is, not everyone in the world is a model. And is it healthy to only look at the beautiful women? It's not pleasing to look at a fat person who's dressing inappropriately, because there's no sexual stimulation. But at the same time, why do you want to be sexually gratified every time you look at someone in clothing? That's the pornography programming there, right? And a lot of the women would complain about unhealthy eating habits, and to go even deeper, gay men run the fashion industry, so they're not going to design their models simply around what straight men want to masturbate to. Gay men are going to create ornate, very intrinsically boastful clothing. That's what they do. That's their style. That's their niche. That's how their brain works, a lot of them. They are like a French gay man or French gay Italian man. They're going to be focusing on fabric, color. How they operate in their industry is different than how a straight man wants to, how he wants to consume content and express his female desire, right? It's a very different field. The fashion industry isn't for conservative men, I'd argue. And a man shouldn't be a peacock. He shouldn't overly focus on his clothing. I think that's a bit feminine. He should instead not be the special boy in his little fancy shiny shoes and whatnot, and maybe get some dirt on those boots and get a pair of jeans and not always bathe in cologne, have a little more natural smell, you know, be real, be a real man. The pretty boys are going to be gay, and why is a straight man watching a gay men's show that isn't aimed at the working class? It's aimed at entertaining the elites, and the elites want to see all the ornateness and excess. That's what they like. That's how they entertain themselves. It's not the place for the common man to criticize the elites in that way and wanted them to make their hobby different, right? It just don't make no sense. But like I said, if you're a working class man and you are married with a wife, Do you really care about what some rich gay people are doing in their fashion shows, or a really quirky, queer woman is doing in London with her models? I mean, I think ban all fashion shows. We don't need them. You want to buy something, get it on a mannequin, try it on. If it works, it don't work, whatever. Plus, our Islamic clothing is pretty loose and simple. You don't really need a model. You don't need all these size fittings. So why even care? You know? It is funny when you buy something and it doesn't fit or look like the photo, but what did you expect? But at the end of the day, it's just not a good hobby. And it doesn't promote beauty standards that are realistic. But people go to fashion shows to see the unrealistic. They go to see unrealistic prices, unrealistic ways of walking, unrealistic bodies. And there used to be consistently young models under the age of 25, very super thin, size 1, 2, 0, very flat chests and not really a butts, and very straight shoulders and high cheekbones. The models used to have a certain kind of uniformity, you know, because some of the runway managers would say that you want the model to be there, but the attention is on the clothing, not on the model. So if a woman is too attractive, then you're not going to focus on the clothing. And so the politics of the runway is very intricate, but they're going to get into their new markets of weirdness, strangeness. I mean, some of the things I've seen from them are pretty gross. Dark, even. Especially when they are into the red latex and pouring red paint on their heads. And it's very bizarre. But that's their bizarre world. Because you can't start off in the beauty pageants and then just stay beauty in the classical sense. Because the fetishists come out and they got money and they say, well, make it weirder. You know, make her have 3 boobs. Or make one shoe taller than the other so she has to limp a little. Like, they get weirder and weirder and weirder because hedonism and decadence and materialism, when combined, are a tornado of vice and malice. And so if you're really a religious conservative, why even complain that there's not hot models on the runway? You should be happy. Then less people will watch it. But you should also say, go farther and say, all fashion shows should be shut down. Or at least encourage people not to even watch them or attend them, so that the free market makes it so that they fade and go away. You keep giving them attention and eyeballs, you're promoting them. Right? If you have 10 conservative popular YouTubers, they could give commentary on the ideas behind the fashion show without showing the video and letting you know where it is, right? Like what I'm doing, I'm not telling you where the fashion show was in like, oh, it was at this address. I'm not showing you a video, but I'm talking about the ideas behind the actions, which are more important. And that doesn't help them get views. See what I'm saying? Unless the people want to go look it up, which I doubt they will. But if you want to have a solution, talk about the solution. Don't just complain that the weirdos are being weird. Yeah, they're going to be weird. But that's what the fashion and the porn industry produce. That's what the male gaze produces. From the gay perspective and from the straight perspective. Because they want to see more and more and more and more. And with money involved, well, the demand will be met where the dollar sets. So, I mean, is it really that strange? And there's been worse. So, a fat model, okay. Yeah, Victoria's Secret also, I saw, they don't have their angels anymore. And they kind of got more plus-sized women. Well, more women are getting fat. So, that's the market. Fat women got to wear clothes too. So, if you don't like fat women, help people to lose weight. Right? I mean, come on. They gotta buy underwear too. Let me know what you think. By the way, if you'd like to join my blog, it's www.subscribestar.com/Milahan archive. Hope to see you there.